Brad West. I know my name. This is your comic book critical cultural analysis show where we talk about the history of superheroes, the why, the backstories, the dish, all kinds of fun stuff like that. Of course, my co-hosts are Mr. Greg Burrow here at Dragon Slayer Comics and Fantasy, sponsoring us today. And he's my partner in crime fighting. We do all of our volunteer superhero work together, like the Costa Superhero Run, which hopefully we get to do this year. September, we need to reach out to our friend Kelly Langford. And then, of course, the lovely Miss Anastasia Anderson, who's giving us a fresh look on a bunch of stuff, because we're opening our eyes to look some crazy-ass superhero stuff. And speaking of crazy-ass superhero stuff, we're going to be talking about anthropomorphic superheroes. If you watched our deconstruction episodes, the last 2 episodes, you know, last time we were doing the funny side of deconstruction, parody and satire, and we excluded funny animals and anthropomorphic because it didn't quite fit into the satirical, scathing, biting kind of portion of the story that we wanted to tell last time. And we thought, well, you know what? There's so much cool stuff for anthropomorphic superheroes, animal superheroes, that we wanted to, like, let's do an episode about it. So this is another one of our lighthearted fun. We're just going to roll with a little bit kind of fun stuff with that and do that episode today.
That is correct.
This is true. So make sure you're liking and subscribing us on Facebook at Kaiju Live Media and following all of our other stuff and seeing some of our other episodes. We got a bunch of fun stuff coming up for you the rest of the summer. But real quick, we're going to follow our formula here. We're going to give you our definition and criteria so that you understand why we're picking what we're picking, in case, you know, we miss your favorite one or something, or you don't understand why we don't touch on it too much. And we can always come back to stuff later. Superhero Menagerie is our episode today. I was playing with Super Menagerie, which
we tried our best for this, guys.
We tried. For those of you who took a high school English class and learned about, you know, different forms of poetic arrangement, anthropomorphic is a form of, and I took high school English and I forgot the word, personification. Anthropomorphic is a type of personification in which you assign human qualities to a non-human entity. And anthropomorphic is specifically to animals. Usually it is. Sometimes there's other variations of it, but we're going to go with the animals today. And this is giving human qualities to animals, making people out of
And in
animals.
English literature, you would probably, animal farm would probably be one of the biggest ones
Yes.
you would have encountered in.
That's a very direct version.
Watership Down was one that was a big one kind of thing. And it's been in movies and cartoons and stuff for like ever and ever. Just so you know real quick, we are discussing what we wanted. Where people does not count as human animals. They're animal, or as animal humans.
It didn't feel like it fit.
They're human animals. It's the reverse. So we're not doing any kind of weird type people or anything. And also, we're excluding animals in comics, especially superhero animals, that are just still animals. They may be super intelligent animals, or they may be animals with superpowers, but that's not what we're going with here. We're going with animals that are people. So that's kind of our little breakdown there. And when we were thinking about it, we were thinking, okay, how do we want to break this down? What is our true anthropomorphic superhero? And what's kind of just a deviation, a variant kind of thing? So our 100% anthropomorphic superhero animals is, they are animal people in an animal people world, or at least predominantly animal people, where humans, like, if they show up, it's very, very rarely, or it's inconsequential.
Yeah.
So they're animal people in an animal people world. That's what a real true anthropomorphic is. The second level down, we're calling this the 75%, is they're animals that are people in a human world. So animals that are treated like people.
Yeah, they're just a guy. They're not.
Apparently the other human people don't really even acknowledge that they're animals. Or whatnot.
Yeah, they just happen to be an animal for reasons, but we don't really care.
Right.
They're another person. You can replace it with a real guy.
And it would probably,
It wouldn't make a difference.
Mostly the animal part is a given.
Yeah.
And then we get down to the 50%. These are animals that are secretly superheroes. So there are animals, but when the humans aren't looking, this is what Anna said.
Kind of like Toy Story.
Anna made a point, a Toy Story situation.
Yeah.
When the humans aren't looking, they're superhero people.
Or when when they're not looking, they're superheroes, but otherwise they're your family pet or something.
And then there are some very important ones, especially in current media and comic book culture, which is we consider like the 25%. They kind of just get right under the radar. We're referring to those ones that are non-ironic animals as superheroes. So in the story, it's an animal, but for one reason or another, it's turned into a kind of person. And we'll be clear on that when we get to some of those, because there's some very good examples of that as we go.
Yeah, we split some hairs real hard.
We split some hairs.
And
Exactly.
we're going to actually start off with cartoons, because there's a lot of them in cartoons.
Yes, animation goes all the way back to Hanna-Barbera. Now, Hanna-Barbera definitely had some.
And even before Hanna-Barbera.
Even before, oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hanna-Barbera, I think, is the one that I remember most of the stuff from my time.
Yeah.
But,
Right, and I mean, there's multiple reasons.
Well,
why
the
you
first
pick
one we're starting
animals.
off with is actually not a Hanna-Barbera. It's Underdog.
so who produced
Yeah.
Underdog?
I can't remember who did Underdog.
Never fear, Underdog is here. Underdog, and we're not talking about the
NBC.
we're not talking about the live action movie, because that was
Yeah.
completely another thing. In the Underdog cartoon, he's a lowly shoeshine boy.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I absolutely loved this cartoon as a kid.
I honestly don't remember it that much. I know I saw it, and the only thing I remember is never fear, Underdog is here, and that's just all I can remember.
Underdog.
It's one of those, I don't want to talk about it, because all of this is, most of the stuff we're going to be talking about is stuff that was in syndication so much that when I was a child, like, we went past the daytime syndication and we went into the late night syndication. Like,
What?
if I was up at 3 a.m., I watched probably half of these shows.
Well, a lot of things that I've seen when superhero stuff is even what I only saw in syndication, like Batman. I only saw
Right.
that when they started replaying it.
It
I
was
loved it, but it was in syndication.
Yeah, but it's a specific, it's like they go through the original run and then they go through, like, they pick certain time slots, and then, like, by the time I got to watching things like Cartoon Network, Hanna-Barbera was kind of in the back burner.
Right. This is
It
before.
was one day.
And that's also before, like, when we saw them in syndication, before Warner Brothers bought Hanna-Barbera outright, and you saw
Yeah.
them was Boomerang and Cartoon Network after Warner Brothers had bought them. So they actually started, like, they're like, hey, we got this stuff now, let's fill things up with.
Right? Just in case anyone feels like carbon dating our ages.
So.
Just-
Yes.
So the next two are actually Hanna-Barbera titles.
Yes.
First one is a really cool one. It's called Adamant.
And
Up
it's
and Atom.
Atom Ant.
Up and Adam. Adamant.
Up and at 'em.
As opposed to Adam Ant, the pop singer.
Yeah. Yeah.
I used to get that confused when I was a kid. All right, so hold on, back up real quick. So we decided that both Underdog and Adam Ant are in our 75% range.
Even Hong Kong Phooey. I
Even
thought.
Hong Kong Phooey. Oh, yeah,
Yes.
even Hong Kong
Hong Kong
Phooey.
Phooey too.
Hong Kong Phooey is coming up right now. Yeah, there we go.
Hey.
Number one super
Number one
guy.
super guy. I love, my favorite part about that was this is one of those. This is definitely a what did you call it? Asian fascination period when everything was kung fu and everything.
We were obsessed.
And
we were
the
like,
thing about
everyone
Hong Kong
wants to
Phooey-
kung fu.
The thing about Hong Kong Phooey is that it very much picks up on the Green Hornet formula,
Yeah.
where it's actually the sidekick who's really doing all this stuff. And that's one reason I liked Hong Kong Phooey is because he was kind of a screw up.
He was a dense.
He was a dog. Hong Kong Phooey's a dog.
Who's the
And,
janitor?
who was a janitor dog.
He
In
was
a,
a janitor.
in a human world, nobody seemed to notice he was a dog. And he would actually go into the bottom level of a filing cabinet to change instead of a phone booth, and then pop out of the top cabinet as Hong Kong Phooey.
Yes.
And it was his sidekick, this cat, who did all the actual stuff. And he had a big head and got it's actually the first I remember that for me. 'Cause you see a lot of cool stuff. Even modern anthropomorphic stuff. That's a really good superhero formula for like something that's entertaining and comical.
Right, and it adds to the slapstick. Like thinking of something like Hong Kong Phooey, like that stuff I would have thought was hilarious as
Yeah.
a kid, and that was a fun. It's like, and we were already going through some really gritty times where we were like,
And not to mention the voice on Hong Kong Phooey was amazing.
it was great. It just, yeah, we got so used to the idea of the superheroes aren't as all that as we say they are. So
Right.
we had
Now,
a weird trend
we
where where we have the superhero taking all the limelight and somebody's in the
And the
background.
background actually pulling the strings.
I
That
can't
was funny.
remember the name of the actor who did his voice, but I want to say he also did Jazz, the Transformer Jazz.
Did he?
There was a lot of recycling in them. I mean, I know Bumblebee is the same voice who was Peter Parker on Amazing Friends, so.
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
we're
So, now, okay, one thing that we have to be, especially in our culturally aware society now, there was a lot of cringeworthy Asian stereotype, like.
it gets awkward.
It was actually watching some of the old ones, like, I did not remember him having, like, a rickshaw for his Supermobile, and it was a little, so.
Oh yeah, there's moments in some of these we watched where you see it in retrospect and you're like, oh God, yikes.
I know, right? Yikes.
Like the secret squirrel thing. I didn't realize he does the thing where he peeks behind the corner in the different disguises, and he has like a very stereotypical old man red Indian disguise, and then he has a very Fu Manchu disguise.
Right.
And he takes it off, and I'm like, oh, sweet God.
Yeah. Oh, no.
Another Hanna-Barbera title.
Yes.
Yes.
Other one, later.
It's more. That one was more of the James Bond super spy because it came before the superhero kind of thing. Or well, it was basically.
We're in
That was
the
one
middle
where we were like right on the line about it. And I
Yeah,
chose
it's
not
right
to do it.
there.
Yeah.
It's
Because it was all gadgets, but I mean, you could say most superheroes are
kind of
all
like Batman, but
yeah.
it was really meant to be. It was really meant to be an anthropomorphic James Bond. Is what it was.
It's just one of those things where you see it and you're like, oh wait.
Yeah.
Oh.
And let's be honest, James Bond was not particularly culturally sensitive at any point, but
Yeah.
So.
It's like-
So the next one we're going to talk about is really cool because it started out as Super Mouse, but he immediately morphed over into Mighty Mouse.
Yeah.
So as you can see from the Super Mouse slide there, he looked a lot like Superman.
Yeah. Like you see the color scheme and you're like, oh.
Yeah, and I don't know if this has anything to do with DC suing Wiz Comics over Shazam or / Captain Marvel.
I thought it was Fawcett Comics.
Fawcett Comics, that's right, Fawcett Comics. Wiz was the name of the radio station that Billy Batson worked at. Yeah, Mighty Mouse. Okay, now I liked Mighty Mouse when I was a kid, but I really. And just so you know, the Super Mouse, Mighty Mouse, originally we considered that about the 75% because there were still human people in there.
Mm-hmm.
However, and this is
pretty crazy, guys.
This is super awesome. It was, and the New Adventures of Mighty Mouse that I remember when I was in the 90s, and I didn't realize it was the same guy who did Cool World, but Ralph.
Yes, Ralph Bakshi. Yep, Ralph Bakshi, guys.
Now this cartoon is so out there. I think that's why
it
I love
was
it so
a
much.
lot.
It's a lot.
That was during our gross cartoon.
We hadn't quite made it to the Ren and Stimpy gross yet, but it was leading up to it.
Yeah,
I'm going to say this really quick. I am actually shocked because Ralph Bakshi before this was doing pretty much all film.
Oh, adult stuff.
Yeah,
I
he
was
was
like
really adult stuff. Like
he was
one of the first things he did was actually an X-rated.
Yeah. X-rated cartoon. Fritz the Cat.
Yeah,
Fritz
the Cat. Yeah.
Felix the Cat's a little bit better. I
Yeah.
Fritz the
I
Cat.
don't know, depending on what year you look at it.
This is true. I mean,
Depending on what year.
But
But yeah, no, he did a bunch of dirty stuff, and then for some reason they were like, "You want to do a Mighty Mouse thing?" And he was like, "Okay."
If you just want your mind blown, or if you're getting toasted somewhere and you want something to play, I highly recommend finding these on YouTube.
Some of the episodes were banned.
Some of them were
Yes.
banned. Yes, they were actually banned.
They are varied. It's like, because, I mean, as a kid in the 90s, I probably would have been like, okay, whatever. But they're very suggestible.
They're very.
Oh my God. It's like the Miss Marsupial character's like hot for some reason.
She's like the mini skirt and the cleavage, but she's still got the pouch.
Yeah, if you didn't realize she had the pouch, you would have been like, what? This person?
Now, okay, now one of my favorite things about this, though, and like my friend Frank reminded me of it, was the main villain. His main villain was the cow. But the cow was this dude, and he was like super loud and bodacious. But it's like, and they even like call him on it. It's like, only the females are called cows. You should be a bull. But he's called the cow, and he's this guy called the cow, and even his logo is like udders.
Yeah.
And it makes no sense.
It
It makes no sense. It's hilarious.
It's like, and he does such. Ralph actually is an acquired taste because I forgot how animated his actual stuff is.
It's very exaggerated, very hyperbolic.
Yeah, he follows the Ren and Stimpy principle of you're not supposed to have two of the same expression, and so everything's very clunky but very wild.
He was out way before Ren and Stimpy.
Yes.
Ren and Stimpy came out.
Oh yeah, he started it.
I mean, you should really check out a lot of his filmography.
He's great to look at.
I would especially suggest Wizards, which has Mark Hamill as one of the voices.
That was actually kind of cool.
It came out the same year as Star Wars, 1977. Then there's also Fire and Ice, which he worked with Frank Frazetta. And it's a barbarian fantasy film that's absolutely amazing, really wonderful. I love that film so much.
And Guillermo del Toro is supposed to be trying to redo that.
Oh
is
my God.
he?
I saw they had an exhibit of the original animation and everything that Del Toro was producing the actual exhibit, because you had to pay to go into. This was at Comic Palooza about 5 years ago, I think. And he's been raising money by touring with like original animation cells, a documentary, all this kind of stuff, because he wants to redo it. Now I don't know how that's been affected by other projects and things, but I know that was something he wanted to do, and it looked really cool.
I've already finished his Mansions of Madness.
I'd never actually seen the whole thing until then.
Yeah, but also he did the Lord of the Rings movie. Now this is very confusing because there are multiple different ones, but this is like the first half of the Lord of the Rings. The last Rankin and Bass was able to do The Hobbit, and they were able to do The Return of the King, which is the third chapter.
So he did the middle.
So he did the first opening up to about a little bit into the Two Towers.
Okay.
But because he was wanting to do the rest, but the thing is that the Tolkien family didn't want anyone to do it. So they sold the rights off to different people to get the money, thinking that it would never get made because no one would be able to do it all. So so that's why Rankin and Bass did The Hobbit, which is amazing. I love the Hobbit cartoon.
That's the one I remember. I don't remember the other ones.
And then the Lord of the Rings was really good with Ralph Bakshi. The Return of the King, Rankin and Bass did because they had the rights to it, but they didn't put a lot into it. There's like one aspect of it that was really good, and sadly, it's this one song, and it's where there's a whip, there's a way. Where there's a whip, there's a way. That's the only good thing about this entire thing. Otherwise, it's hard to watch.
So our point is that Ralph Bakshi is very adult, very mature, and
cool world.
You could cool
yeah,
world.
don't show this
You
to
could
your kids.
definitely. It's something that you might want. I don't know. It depends on when you.
Show it to your teens.
It depends on your raised, because like
your teens might think
there was a lot of messed up stuff that got to kids in the 90s. So
there's a lot of messed up
Mighty
stuff
Mouse,
I watched as
the
a
New
kid.
Adventures of Mighty Mouse, and then one of the main reasons that we're also going to like touch on this. This one is unlike the other Mighty Mouse where there are still human people in there. This one is a complete 100% anthropomorphic world. Everybody all animals. In fact, Mighty Mouse is even on his own version of the Justice League. It's the League of Super Rodents. Yeah. And I love the League of Super I couldn't find the episode I wanted. One of my favorite characters is a sloth, who I don't even think that's a rodent, but whatever. And then and their Batman was Bat. And it was a bat that dressed up like a bat.
That was just a bat.
But the most disturbing thing about Bat is he drove a human mobile. And it was literally like this long flesh-colored thing with arms and legs that ran. And he sat in the back of it, and it was so messed up. And
I still have to find this.
Yeah, it's just so messed up. Okay, sorry. Anyway, so yes, check that out. It's out there.
We ought to do a Ralph Bakshi episode.
I would actually love that.
But so next up is Crypto the Superdog.
Now we already said that we were not going to be doing just smart pets from the comic books. Crypto the Superdog, the animated show,
doesn't count.
Is a different animal. Not to use word facts.
No,
right. Not meant to be.
Play on words here. Crypto the Superdog, even though, and we had actually kind of discussed this where it would fit in there. The adults have no idea what's going on.
This was a hard hair split.
But the children are aware that the animals talking are superheroes.
Yes.
The reason we really felt it fit in here really well, though, is because not only is it the only version of Crypto and Streaky the Super Cat that talk, all of the other super and villains and hero animals are talk. They are almost all analogs of DC Comics characters. So, like, you know, Lex Luthor is bald, so his pet iguana, Ignatius, who's also, you know, obviously hairless, is one of the supervillains. Isis, Catwoman's cat, is just Catwoman. Even Ace the Bat Hound shows up. And one of my favorite aspects of this was the, what did they call the Dog Star Patrol? They called the Dog Star Patrol.
I think.
It was the Legion of Superheroes kind of thing. And I don't remember many of them. I just remember the dachshund named Hot Dog who had flame powers.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's so obvious, but it still works.
It's such a simple thing too, because I remember racking my brain in it as a kid, and that was basically in the phase of we want to sell this to a younger audience and we want more toys.
And you know, it was actually really well written. And the thing is,
I liked it.
I honestly felt it was pretty good for.
I think this next one is one that we all loved very
Yeah.
much. Darkwing Duck.
Darkwing Duck.
The spin-off of the DuckTales that he's part Shadow, part Batman, part I don't know what the hell else. But, and this is also where we're talking about the formula with the competent sidekick that's actually doing the stuff.
Yeah.
And it's not only Darkwing, it's his pilot, his Launchpad is there, and they're both dimwits.
Yeah, I think when I saw these, I saw that one and
It's only
How Can We
Gosling
Do-
that has a clue.
I saw them basically about the same time, and I thought that plot was hysterical.
It is great. They had a lot of really cool analogs. He even had his own, what was his like, Justice Ducks? And they weren't all ducks, but like the other ones, like one of the fish person, the aqua person, is like, I'm not a duck, but they kept, he's like, whatever, we're still the Justice
Right.
Ducks.
And I have heard the remake of this is really good too.
I haven't seen the remake of this. I have seen the new DuckTales with Darkwing Duck in it. I haven't seen the new spin-off. But I do like that Gizmo Duck was their Iron Man character.
Yeah.
And I love the reboot of Gizmo Duck. I love the reboot of Gizmo Duck. He's actually a highlight of the new
Please tell me
DuckTales.
you've seen Night Mage's Gizmo Duck.
Yes,
No.
of course.
Night Mage, a very
I
famous
don't know.
cosplayer, did Gizmo Duck.
He does
I
some
want
really
to
cool
see it
stuff.
so
He just,
bad.
oh my God, have you seen his Rocky Horror Picture Show shoot?
Did you
Oh
see
my
his He-Man?
God.
I saw the He-Man, but I really liked his Frankfurt. I'm like, I would have never seen that coming, and it's great. It's just great. He's great, and the shoes are killing me because he's so big, and I'm like, oh my God, he's in this. Okay, well, you know, we're gonna try and get him on the show sometime. But anyway, Darkwing Duck is 100% anthropomorphic. All of the people and all of the things in the
It's
book
all
are-
animals.
It's
guys.
all animals all the time. So now we're going to get into one that's one of the more modern ones that I've actually never seen before, but it definitely fits into the 50% mold of where it's an animal when the humans look at it, but when they're not paying attention, it's...
You hadn't seen any Phineas and Ferb?
I have not. I haven't even seen the Marvel Universe crossover.
You know what? It's actually really cute.
Is it?
It's another one of those, like a lot of shows that were happening on Disney where like you're sitting there going, I don't know, but it grows on you after
Okay.
a while. And yeah, the plot that it's like they learned and they realized that people liked the Perry the Platypus stuff.
And so they expanded on it.
Yes, and in that one, for the 5 of you who don't know what I'm talking about, he's
I'm one
a
of them.
yeah, he is Phineas and Ferb's pet platypus in an all-human world, and then his side job is he's a secret agent, and it's basically you get the A plot of Phineas and Ferb doing some shenanigans, and then the B plot is him running off to go do his spy stuff. And they do the running gag they do with all of these where like I think at one point they accidentally see him, but because he's wearing the hat, nobody knows. They're like, what?
Now I do know another Cartoon Network show that had a very similar premise is Dexter's Laboratory had the monkey.
Yeah, monkey.
Now I actually thought he had a different name when he was in his superhero guys, but
Just monkey.
basically Dexter is a super scientist and he's got this laboratory monkey, and when he's not paying it, because he accidentally gave it powers but he doesn't know, and when he's not paying attention, the monkey goes off into superhero for the
Monkey's a
government.
superhero.
So, and I always found that one
A little
amusing.
spy
Okay,
agency
so
is
this
on.
next one,
Oh,
is
brace
Nightmare
yourself. Brace yourself.
We have this-
1950s Superman with George Reeves was super popular, and they decided they wanted to do something for kids,
And make a children's show.
so they made Super Pup.
And they reused the same set. This is the supervillain. This is
Yeah.
the puppet-headed supervillain.
And see, it looks less scary in the moving GIF. It looks less scary, but this makes it look terrifying.
It does.
And this is such a
It
weird thing.
And it wasn't just them trying to cash in on the popularity. They were trying to get their money's worth out of the sets. Like they literally, it was kind of like
Again, we need
they
more
literally would
money.
film this. They would film this after they were done filming the George Reeves Superman, and so that they could refilm it on the same set. So it was the same sets and everything, so then they can get double uses out of it. And
And also, I think it's very key to note that we would not have had the 1950s George Reeves Superman without Kellogg's cereal.
correct.
Yes.
Frosted Flakes in particular.
Yeah.
Because they paid for all the sets and for everything to be made. They paid for this show to be made, and that's
Well, that
why.
makes even more sense why they would do the kids one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
And
yeah.
That was part of why
Again,
a
we
lot
need
of the
more
shows,
toys.
they would actually
We need
have
more
the
money.
stars. Yeah, they would have a lot of the stars of these shows doing ads for these different products because the product, the
Paid
people
for
that
the
made the
show.
product paid for
Which
everything.
was kind of the norm back in
So
the
they
early
actually
days of
have a
television.
Superman / Clark Kent commercial of him, talking about Kellogg's cereal, Frosted Flakes.
Right.
But yeah, definitely this is them trying to get more kids in on eating the cereal.
Right. I think the only thing that also kills me about it is it doesn't look as weird if you look at the pictures objectively, but once you start watching everything moving in sequence, it's literally just a dude in a mascot hat.
Yeah.
Like, he's in the mascot head. They
Although
don't
Lois
commit to
Lane-
anything else.
Lois
That's
Lane is Polly Poodle. She's
oh.
the poodle. That's the one. She's the poodle, and she's actually the worst one watching her talk. It's like this is so rubber mask. It's
Yeah, like, see, I wasn't imagining it. It's like you see the bulldog, and it's like when you see his hands are just gloved.
Yeah.
So when you're seeing these, like, you're seeing images of these people with these oversized, dramatic dog heads, and it's just their regular bodies. And I'm like, you could have paid an extra whatever to get a more full body costume. Even though I know that's hard, but like I think that's what makes it so unsettling is we hit that uncanny valley territory where like nobody knew how to make things for children in the
Right.
50s.
Now,
But also just that.
if anybody got the silver box set of the Superman collection that came out after Superman Returns, the Bryan Singer version with Brandon Routh, there was a box set, and it actually has some really good documentaries and stuff on it. And there's a full-on breakdown documentary of this show and everything that was behind the scenes, and it's actually pretty amusing. That's where I first heard of it. That's why I was like looking for it to show these guys, and when we found it, we're like, whoa, that's even worse than I remembered.
Plus, I realized we didn't answer this, and full disclosure, when you said, oh yeah, it's just the second video that popped up, the second video never popped up.
It popped
So,
up for me.
is this like everybody's an animal?
Yes.
This isn't everybody's an animal
And
situation.
not everybody was a person in an animal head. There were also smaller animals that were just straight up puppets.
What?
Yeah, like
Oh
there's
my God.
there's like a mouse. I don't know what the mouse is supposed to be. Who was the mouse supposed to be?
I didn't know.
We don't know.
Right.
But one of the main characters is a mouse, and it's like literally like a little.
Jimmy Olsen.
It's literally like a little
Mouse puppet?
It's a mouse
Like a
puppet.
little
And
hand puppet?
it's just a little hand puppet, and they're just doing this, and he's popping out of the filing cabinets and stuff, or behind the desk,
that's
or
incredible.
around the corner, and it's literally a puppet.
Oh my God.
Now, the next one's one of my favorites. It was kind of on the fence because he's basically a spy, but it's Danger Mouse from England.
And we feel like this one fits more into, even though it's a super spy, especially if you see the eye patch, this is definitely inspired more by the Nick Fury spy, super spy, than the James Bond spy kind of thing.
Mhm.
So it definitely, even though it's a spy thing, it's got a lot more of the superhero elements in it, especially when they go a secret lair. And he's more Batman-y and Nick
Right.
Fury.
It's like the thing we're learning as we're gonna superior and Dora spy episodes is that the stuff that is spies and the stuff that is superheroes toe the line very closely to each
And
other.
yeah, that's a good segue. Just so you know, we are going to be
By the way,
doing at the end of next month. We're going to be doing a Super Spy episode in anticipation for the Black Widow movie. So make sure you check on to that the last week. And next month is really cool because we get 3 shows next month, y'all. 3 shows.
Yay.
So keep your eye out for those, and we're gonna have some really fun stuff. But the Super Spy one, yeah, that's totally on point. Now moving on to, now I never even heard of this one until we were doing the research, but apparently like
some of these just pop up when we see them.
one of my friends suggested this and it's like, oh, what about Super Chicken? I'm like, Super Chicken?
Super Chicken.
He's like, yeah, he gets his superpowers from drinking a martini. And I'm like, what?
I just.
And ironically, that's not as, it wasn't as adult as I was expecting from, you know, getting his superpowers from drinking a martini.
This looks very explicitly
Wasn't
like
this
kids'
made by
cartoon.
the same people that made Rocky and Bullwinkle?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, we did discover it was the Rocky and Bullwinkle team. There were people, well, we thought there were people in it. We're not 100% sure. Because, like, what we saw, and they were like, behind, like, things, and we heard them talking, but they never actually showed if they were human people or not, but...
Sometimes they would just like do human silhouettes in the background, and we're like,
is that supposed to be a human or
yeah.
some other kind of thing? We were actually quite disturbed by the first episode that we saw with the exploding custard. So
yeah, it was something.
it was a little extra.
This was a road we didn't think we were going down.
Right.
We were like, it's gonna be some cute kids cartoons. It's gonna be great, and we found everything but that.
Right. Any other cartoons that we?
Oh, we could keep on going.
Yeah. Super. All right, so we're done with cartoons. If y'all find any that we forgot or whatever you want us to look into, please make sure you comment and
right, give us more.
Give us more. We'd love to do this research for you. We'd love to have our mind blown too. Like with that bulldog, we're all just sitting here like, whoa.
We have to like drag everybody from like all different parts. Just be like, look at this.
Yeah, so
look at his face.
I'm like, we had to see it. You have to see it. We apologize for nothing.
Yeah,
so that's cool.
So this is comic books.
Now we're in comic books.
Probably one of the more famous of the anthropomorphic is, of course, Spider-Ham.
Peter Porker Spider-Ham, which I love, and I love him in the movie. I love that it was John Mulaney.
He was really funny.
What I love is he was created by Tom DeFalco,
who's one of our favorite creators.
Spider-Girl.
Spider-Girl. He was one of the co-creators of the Scarlet Spider story, the Clone stories, and.
Plus, I just love how this cover looks. Like this actually looks like I'm having fun.
It is, and the original design was actually even more wild looking. But the thing is, he's definitely a 100% anthropomorphic hero. Because he comes from Earth 8311, which is all animals.
All the animal equivalent.
The only time he actually encountered the people was in, of course, the multiverse, where he got pulled into the multiverse. Now, my favorite thing about Spider-Ham is that he is not a pig.
Yeah.
Brace yourselves, because Spider-Ham's origin is he was a spider that was bitten by a radioactive pig. Yeah. Okay. When Aunt May, the inventor, created a nuclear-powered hairdryer. That's what it was, a nuclear-powered hairdryer. I love the nuclear-powered hairdryer. And she accidentally got radiated, bit the spider, and then he became a pig. And the reason I really like this is because if you watch the movie, especially if you have the DVD set that came with the little extras and the little extra animated cartoon, and he's always eating a hot dog. And everybody freaks out. He's like a pig, and he's eating pork chops and hot dogs, and he has to keep reminding people, I'm not a pig. It's not cannibalism. And that's like my favorite thing about Peter Porker Spider-Ham, is he keeps eating the hot dog.
And that's one of those things. I actually didn't know that. I didn't know any of that.
It's super messed up, but it's so funny.
I'm like, he popped up on Spider-Verse, and I was like, cool.
Yes.
And that was about as far as
I went. Oh my god, what were some of his characters like? Venham. Venham was one of his villains that they eventually introduced in the 90s when they went back to him, and Captain Americat.
I see the little Captain Americat.
Hulk Bunny, Captain Americat.
They would make him a bunny.
What was it? Daredevil.
Daredevil. That's precious.
Dr. Goose, I think was Dr. Doom was a goose, right?
I can't remember.
It was funny.
I know. It's worth looking for.
It is, and it was all
coming up and kids need things to do. Is that a kid-friendly one?
Yes.
Perfect.
Or
Okay.
at least definitely the very original ones and the very current ones. Now some of the ones in the 90s, because it was the 90s and they got, like I said, Ben Ham, I can't really remember, but I do know that it was very much meant to be a funny kids friendly. And it's entertaining for adults because there's got all these other references and things and stuff in it.
Right.
But
if you've seen this stuff before, you can be like, hey. But yeah, I feel bad whenever we do these cartoon ones and it's like, don't look at this one.
Yes.
Don't watch this one. Don't watch this one.
Don't watch the New Adventures of Mighty Mouse with your children, okay?
No.
But Spider-Ham is
like I said, mid-teen, like if you have a kid in high school and they can handle it, maybe.
Yeah.
But like, no, this isn't it's like I come from the age of this is a cartoon. It's for kids, right? So I can just sit you in front of this. I can sit you in front of Cool World and it's fine, right? Just no. It's not like that.
Now the next one is one I've always loved, but he's just gotten a lot more popular recently.
For obvious reasons. Brace yourself, he does look different. Rocket Raccoon, who there is some debate between me and Greg as to whether or not he's
They've been
actually
fighting
a raccoon.
about this for hours.
Now, Rocket Raccoon is, unfortunately, we have to put him on there because he's definitely a modern popular thing. But he's at the lower level. He's at the 25% because he's a non-ironic animal character. He's like an animal, which I'm pretty sure is a raccoon. But he's an animal that got mutated by genetic experimentation and cybernetics into a humanoid thing. So he's within the continuity, he's actually a unique thing. He's not part of an animal world. He's not an actual animal that people mistake for a human. He actually says that he is not a raccoon. Okay.
He says it, but that doesn't mean anything.
Now, of course, everybody knows that the Guardians of the Galaxy, this is one part of it. Guardians of the Galaxy, when the Nova Corps captures him and they're explaining what he is, he's a result of illegal genetic experimentation and cybernetic enhancement on a lower life form. Greg thinks it's an alien creature that looks like a raccoon. I think it was actually a raccoon.
And I don't know because I haven't read to confirm anything.
But in the comic
he was
book,
originally in Hulk.
In the Hulk.
Yeah, he was introduced in the Hulk, which is kind of amazing because so many great characters are actually introduced in the Hulk. Wolverine was actually introduced in the Hulk.
Squirrel Girl.
Yeah.
Anyway, the comic book, the one that we showed you, where they explained his origins, he actually comes from an asylum planet where aliens are being kept for various reasons. I don't know if they're just because they're crazy or what the hell the deal is. But the caretakers who created this planet decided to make animals, from whatever source, as the protectors. And Rocket Raccoon's original origin, he's actually the head of security for this entire animal planet, or this entire planet run by animals. And his best friend is a walrus named Wally. And I can't remember some of the other animals and stuff, but everybody was like a rabbit guy and some other things on there and stuff, so that one's actually pretty interesting. If you ever get a chance to go back and read the original 4-issue miniseries, it's really entertaining.
It looks exciting.
I liked him when he showed back up in some of the other space stuff before they actually put him on Guardians of the Galaxy and teamed him up with Groot, which is winning combinations. It's chocolate peanut butter. It was such a good combination of the comic. Obviously, they put him in the movie, and it's like boom.
Right. That's the thing that's killing me about all the Guardians of the Galaxy stuff, because learning about their comic backgrounds, it's like this isn't even ragging on Guardians of the Galaxy. Those are my favorite movies. They're better than the actual movie.
They're so different.
There's so many backgrounds that are amazing.
I love their interpretations of these characters in the movie, obviously, because they did well. But Star-Lord is, you go back and look at the old Star-Lord stuff.
There's so much more interesting.
Yeah, there's more depth to things. You got to remember, Star-Lord's actually been in the comic books for like decades before they actually made him on a Guardians Galaxy team. Gamora, I read Gamora when she was part of the Infinity Watch. Where they actually, when Adam Warlock had taken the Infinity Stones and split them up and gave each person one stone to guard. And
Groot's amazing.
That was the first time that Gamora, right? But that's the first time Gamora and Drax even met, was because they were two of the Guardians of the Infinity Watch.
Oh, okay.
Drax had the strength or power stone, and I don't remember what she had.
Yep, and then even talking about like the original Guardians, like when everybody was like going crazy about Yondu, and they were like, "You think Yondu's cool in this?
No,
Let me show you the comics."
Way cooler in the comic books because he's actually from the future. But
he's so cool.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, check out this stuff. It's always good. But
oh my god,
Raccoon,
yes.
There you go. And one more thing. Who created Raccoon?
Oh.
All right. While Miss Anna, our Duchess of Protocol, checks it for me. The creator actually came up with the idea for Rocket Raccoon because of a Beatles song called Rocky Raccoon. Yeah, Bill Mancelano.
Yeah.
So yeah, he was listening to the song The Beatles, Rocky Raccoon, and hence Rocket Raccoon. So as a spacefaring raccoon.
Yeah.
So, moving on to the DC side of the animals, because of course, Marvel and DC, they copy each other and they always have to have what the other one has, is Captain Carrot and the Amazing Zoo Crew, also known as the JLA, or the Just a Lot of Animals. Now, the funny thing is, go back to the Captain Carrot, so you can, real quick, the picture.
Oh.
This slide.
Yeah, that's a Gavin question, sorry.
Gavin, Mr. Gavin, can you put the slide back up?
It's
all right, whatever.
Yeah.
If you check it out, here's the really, really bizarrely interesting thing about the Captain Carrot comic book is that, yes, it is its own universe with its own, there we go.
There we go.
Oh, you can't see the bottom half of that picture.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Superman's down there in peril.
It was another universe that had no human beings on it at all. They actually the entire planet gets their powers from Superman. The actual main universe Superman ends up in their world, and through some cosmic interaction with kryptonite and whatever, he accidentally transfers his energy and it turns them and gives them all the powers. And there's some really fun ones in there, and my favorite is there's Super Speedster as a turtle, Turbo Turtle or something like that. There you go. You can see Superman there at the bottom and stuff.
Yeah, just in peril.
And it's really, really cool. I was telling on the way up here, I didn't read much of Captain Carrot. I'm only kind of familiar with him through like my friend Frank, who's been on the show. He's much more of a historian with these kind of things, and I love to pick his brain. But the most recent thing that I've seen with Captain Carrot in it was about 4 years. When did DC do the conversion? About 4 or 5 years ago?
Are you talking about Rebirth, or are you talking about
Conversion before Rebirth? Remember when the Brainiac guy, instead of collecting alien cities in the bottles, he was collecting cities from different versions of Earth in the bottles? Well, anyway, okay. So this Brainiac type guy was collecting cities from different parallel Earths and trying to get all of the best ones. And then, I don't know why, he pitted them against each other. And he was randomly mixing like different versions of different cities and Earths and everything.
I'm still like, whose like child accidentally went into the writer's room and pitched it?
Right.
It's like, what if we took these universes and made them fight?
It's what it basically came down to. And one of the most amusing ones was the Harley Quinn one, where the Gotham City Sirens universe, which is Harley Quinn, Catwoman, and Poison Ivy and such. And the Huntress. And that universe, that Gotham was fighting the Captain Carrot Metropolis city. And so it basically came down to Harley Quinn versus Captain Carrot. And they're fighting, and if you remember that Harley Quinn, she has a modicum of super strength. That's how she carries the giant hammer and all this stuff. And Harley Quinn is fighting Captain Carrot, and then she finally, it's very funny. It's very light and amusing and slapsticky and everything. And so she finally comes to the conclusion that they're just wasting each other's time and energy. And she's like, oh, let's just, why are we fighting for this guy's entertainment? And she talks him into a truce, right? And then she's like, here, let's share some carrots. And she's eating the carrots, and she's giving him the carrots, and he's eating the carrots. And then you're reminded that she's been gifted immunity to all poisons by Poison Ivy.
Yes.
So she's immune to it. She literally just poisons Captain Carrot to win.
And it's just like, oh
and it's
my
like,
God.
I did not see that. That was a
Jesus Christ, guys. under duress, she wouldn't be above killing somebody like that.
Well,
but
it
feels weird.
Okay, basically it was like you have to fight, and the winner saves that world. The other one gets destroyed. If you don't fight, both get destroyed.
Oh, yeah.
So it was
under enough duress.
It was under duress. It's like if you don't win, your whole city, your whole what's left of your world gets destroyed.
Yeah. Okay.
But if you can find it, I think it's called Convergence, Harley Quinn.
Okay.
Where the different worlds are converging and fighting each other. So it's a multiverse story, but it's got a premise.
Right.
You decide how unique that is to you. But next up, going back to Marvel, is a really famous one.
Howard the Duck.
Howard the Duck.
How did they get away with that? Like, I'm so used to the contorted version of Howard the Duck that I grew up with that I'm staring right at that and I'm like, how did they do that?
Well,
how did they pull that off?
If you're paying attention to Guardians of the Galaxy, the new CGI one looks more like that.
It's like, but even then, like I looked over and I was like, why is Donald Duck having a sword? What's happening? And then just the fact it's literally just Donald Duck with a cigar, and I'm like, how did you do that?
I don't know.
How did they not sue?
Hard drinking, hard smoking Donald the Duck.
Well, luckily, right now, Marvel is owned by Marvel.
That's probably why.
Disney, so
I'm like,
matter.
Disney is an angry and jealous god.
Howard the Duck was created way before they were.
When am I getting my Howard the Duck versus Donald Duck comic book then?
You know what? Wasted opportunity, guys. You have the money.
And if you want to go back in time, for those of you who are not remembering this from the 80s, because it was considered a bomb at the time, it's actually considered a cult classic now. Yes. With Steven Spielberg. No, I'm not kidding.
Oh,
you're right. George Lucas. Well, it was one of those two. They're both like interchangeable. I don't.
Right.
George Lucas produced the Howard the Duck movie.
And it was
with Emma Thompson.
Yeah.
And it was Leah Thompson. Yeah, I got it right. Emma Thompson. I'm thinking Cruella right now. Leah Thompson. And it's actually, I always enjoyed it. It definitely has not kid friendly as it was presented at the time. It's got major adult themes and stuff into it. But I enjoyed it. It's got like one of my favorite 80s songs. I wouldn't even know where to find it on it. And
I would have to find the movie.
I've got it on my collection. We'll have to watch it. I'm sure you probably have it too, right? I really enjoyed it. I mean, the puppets were a little bit disturbing, but it was one of Shawshank Redemption.
What?
Actor from Shawshank Redemption. Not Morgan Freeman, the other one.
Right, not Morgan Freeman. The other guy we didn't care about.
Oh, it was his first movie. It was his first movie.
I only knew Morgan Freeman and Shawshank Redemption. See, now I have to find it.
The main dude.
Embarrassed.
The main dude.
We're asking all the hard questions that I have to keep looking
at. And the
up.
thing is that it's my fault because I take for granted how much I'm going to remember. But and I probably will remember it in like 5 minutes and go, oh, they got it.
I'm the king of useless information. I'll know it up until it's useful.
Until it's useful. Exactly.
Right. Once it's time to remember it, I'm like.
It was his first movie.
Tim Robbins.
Yes, thank you. Oh my gosh, Tim Robbins.
We're just embarrassing ourselves on live TV.
But we're embarrassed. You know what? We're also embarrassing Tim Robbins because he was kind of embarrassing at that.
Well, it's like I said, for Shawshank Redemption, it's like it came out when I was a child, so they're like name somebody from Shawshank Redemption. I'm like Morgan Freeman.
Right. Well, yeah, of course.
That's the farthest I can go.
Morgan Freeman's awesome, but and also what I really liked about the movie, get a chance to watch it. It's Leah Thompson. She's coming off of Back to the Future and everything, and she's trying to build up the career and everything. And she wanted this role so bad.
Aww.
And they did not want her to sing. They didn't think she could carry a tune, and she took hardcore vocal lessons and really busted her butt so she could actually sing the songs. And she's really good.
Do it first fight.
Yes, and they let her sing, and it's actually really.
You learn the most important skills through spite.
Right?
Leah Thompson has always been just an amazing actress, and I've always been sad that she wasn't in more things.
Mm-hmm.
I does. Yeah.
Well, hopefully, you might want to blame Howard the Duck. I don't know. But anyway, Howard the Duck was funny.
Right? We might get it
got
again,
panned pretty hard.
It did.
One day, guys.
It did. When I bought the new released the DVD about 5 years ago, and it actually has like a little documentary where they're talking about, how it got panned and some of the critical response and whether or not the movie made any money and all this kind of stuff. But then they're like, they're talking to the original creators and producers, and they're coming back and they're like, wow, it's just like how this movie has changed over the years, and now it's got this cult following, and it's like they were actually hesitant to release it on DVD the first time, and then they're like, and then you want to do a special edition, and they're like, no, trust us, this will sell, and then the special edition sold really well because it's like we're calling our smoky nostalgia glasses, it changes the way we see things.
Right. We have learned in the last 5 or 6 years, for those of us who have watched The Room, that we will watch bad movies. We don't care.
Yes.
Like, if it's a fun bad movie, we don't care.
And it's a fun bad movie. So Howard the Duck, he's crossed over with everybody from in Marvel at some point or another. He's had some really good books. He actually had a team-up book with Squirrel Girl, I think, for a minute, that had a really good story in it. So he's quirky, he's interesting, and he still keeps coming back around. And Seth Green voiced him in the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, well, and it's like I guess the way the nostalgia goggles have been hitting us is, when I grew up in the 90s, we went through our gross out phase.
Yes.
We went through our we're gonna watch cartoons, but they're actually adult cartoons phase, and it's like this was stuff that I was absolutely uninterested in as a kid. I was like, this guy is walking around, and it's like I remember like Vampirella and stuff, and it's like you're watching their boobs hanging out, and I'm just like, whatever, man. And now that I'm an adult and I've gone through the ringer of all of these weird, gross out cartoons, that I'm like, you know what? This was kind of cool.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm having fun.
It doesn't look as hard as you thought it did. So.
Right? It has the nostalgia lens on it, so it's not as bad as I remember it being as a kid.
And so one of the oldest comics, I would say, that had
I think it's the oldest one we found. Right?
Atomic Mouse.
That is the oldest one. Atomic Mouse.
This one's interesting. I don't know how much this is. I don't know if it was influenced by Mighty Mouse. I don't really think it is. It's more like Shazam-y, Captain Marvel-y, with the cape and everything. And I'm not really familiar with the story and everything, and we couldn't find much to read on it. But he does have a 100% all anthropomorphic world.
Yeah, this keeps shocking me because these last couple ones are all like Captain Marvel based or have like a Captain Marvel look to them. And it's like, again, if you told me as a child that that one of the more popular superheroes was Captain Marvel, I wouldn't have believed you.
Not one of the most popular.
He was.
He beat Superman out hardcore. In fact, for those of you who aren't aware of this and hadn't seen this, because I was telling one of my girlfriends earlier this week, and she's like, what? And I'm like, it's like, the reason Captain Marvel looks like he's wearing an Elvis cape is because Elvis is actually wearing a Captain Marvel cape. Elvis's favorite comic book was Captain Marvel Jr. He literally modeled his cape after Captain Marvel Jr. and Captain Marvel. So the Elvis cape is from comic books.
I never made that connection.
He was a huge comic superhero geek. He loved Captain Marvel and Captain Marvel Jr. In fact, when he was in the army, that's all they would have to send him. Like the publisher sent him the comic books to read.
I'm only insulted because I've been to Graceland and went on the freaking tour, and they never mentioned that once.
Okay, that makes me actually a little upset now.
That makes me mad.
Now
I feel cheated.
We need to go to Graceland and correct some people.
That's
an important historical fact.
I never knew that.
Yes.
And I went to
Graceland. So
Graceland.
we're talking about obviously our Hoppy.
So now we're moving on to an actual.
This is
Captain Marvel character. For those of you in the younger generations who go, why are you calling Shazam Captain Marvel? That's a whole nother story.
Right, copyright reasons.
Yes.
Follow the copyright.
Oh, there's a whole drama.
And then
Follow
also
your
we're going to
trademarks.
quickly switch over, and another one of these anthropomorphic characters that was in Captain Marvel was Talkie Tawny, who was a tiger.
All right, so the main difference
That is
between these two.
incredible.
So the main difference between these two is that Hoppy is actually an extra dimensional. He's from another parallel world, and he actually is a rabbit in an anthropomorphic world. He's 100% anthropomorphic. He comes over just to cause trouble. He crosses over. It's like one of your first,
Big Bat Knight.
He's a Bugs Bunny.
He Shazam's Bat Knight.
That's That's hysterical.
Whereas Talkie Tawny is actually a magical being who poses as a bum, right?
He poses a bum to protect
Billy
Billy
Batson.
Batson before he becomes Shazam.
Because he's
Because he's
watching.
a foster kid.
Yeah.
And he was living on the streets. And so the bum would actually kind of help him out and stuff like that. And then when he became Shazam, the guy finally turns into the tiger guy.
Oh, okay. That
And
answers my one pressing question.
So he was he knew eventually he would become Shazam.
And
Or Captain Marvel.
I never quite pinned down, like, was he a tiger spirit? Because, like, there's a recent one with the DC animated several years back when they were first doing the direct-to-video movies. There was a DC animated called, was it The Power of Shazam? It was Superman and Shazam crossed over, and Black Adam. And it was really good. It had the bum, and he turned into an actual tiger.
Yeah.
But it was a really cool story.
But that was the thing about Talkie Tawny. He could become either a regular tiger or a tiger guy, or he could be the bum.
Yeah.
He was could be one of the things. And he actually had his own Shazam costume with a lightning bolt and everything like that. So,
yeah, but the slight hair split, so he's a tiger first, though, right?
That's what we're not sure.
Like deep down.
We couldn't figure that out, what he was supposed to be. I always thought he was deep down a tiger, disguised as a bum.
This was harder than we thought, guys.
Yeah. So the animated one I saw specifically, it was very much that he was a tiger and he was pretending to be a bum. And then when he finally revealed himself,
he was like, "Psych, I'm a tiger."
He returned himself to his natural form, which is a talking tiger, not a talking walking tiger. He was actually just a talking tiger.
He was just a tiger.
But yeah, you definitely got the impression that he was a tiger first. Whereas in the originals, I'm not so sure, but
I have no idea.
because they don't tell you where he gets his tigerness from, right?
And I'm really wondering if Talkie Tawny was actually pulled from Tony the Tiger.
Probably. Now, here's another little
That
fun
would
one.
be
If
fun.
you have seen the modern Shazam movie with Zachary Levi, pay attention to Billy's backpack. It has a tiger patch on it. In reference, it's literally an allusion to Talking Tawny. In fact, when they're at the fair and he saves a little girl and he gives her the stuffed tiger, there's a reason they kept throwing the tigers in there. Is because that was an allusion to this tiger in this comic book.
Oh,
So-
well.
All Easter eggs.
I know, and this makes me so mad because it's like I'm so used to these movies being like one or two movies, or like, oh, we didn't pick up on this, so we're just gonna fall off. And I'm like,
well, I'm
this
really
would
looking
be a
forward to see what
fun.
they do in Shazam too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Shazam.
This
And
would be a fun
also,
thing for
of
the
course,
next
Black
movie.
Adam is
Battle of
coming
the
too.
Gods, right? They're calling it Shazam Battle of the Gods.
Power of the Gods.
Power of the Gods.
Black
Something
Adam's
like that.
coming. Black Adam's coming.
Black Adam's coming.
So, anyways, thank you guys for watching.
This was a
Please
fun
do
one.
like and subscribe. Also, check out the website, bradsredweb.com.
Yes.
And if you have any questions or if you have anything you want us to explore, talk about, whatever, just give us a line. Tell us what you want to see.
If we got something wrong and screwed something up, correct us. We're not very egos here, but also we would love to hear your ideas for show. Something that you're interested in and you want us to do the work for you, we will do it. We will delve into it. We will find what we can, and we've got some amazing stuff coming up for you this summer.
The next episode's going to be fun, guys.
The next episode's
Oh,
gonna be
so
fun.
excited.
You want to tell them?
You go ahead.
All right. So next episode will be the worst costume redesigns in superhero history. And we're not talking movies and TVs, we're talking in the comic book, but it's going to be awesome. So we're going to actually start off a little bit of a fashion thing next month, and you're going to have some fun with us. So
Especially
Yes.
leading up to the Hellfire Gala.
Leading up to the
Especially for the
Hellfire
Hellfire
Gala.
Gala.
All right. So thank you for joining us. Make sure you like and subscribe. And as always, we're your Red Web guys. We love you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah.
Bye.